Hello, welcome to my grade 6 history podcast. Today, our podcast will be based on the Acadian Expulsion and all the history behind this event. Some background information on this Acadian group. The Acadians were a group that shared similar cultural backgrounds. They originated from western New France. In 1604, the Acadian group began settling in Acadie, now Nova Scotia. They spoke French, Chiac, English, and Acadian French. The two most dominating traits the Acadians excelled in were their faith and language. They followed the Catholic religion, and the church played a powerful role in the Acadians' lives. For a living, they hunted, fished, and farmed for jobs. Money didn't exist to them. They would trade equal items that had equivalent values. Working wasn't their whole life. They enjoyed many things such as dancing, dance performances, song recitals and concerts, cleaning, and lastly reading for those who were able to. Acadians delighted in many foods like fish, herbs, wild berries, and plants. A few examples of these goods were cabbage, turnips, beans, carrots, corn, chives, salmon, eels, clam, cod, and herring. Yes, the Acadians had many basic living items, but numerous people died from illness, lack of vitamin D, and loss of blood, teeth, and spongy gums, as well as malnutrition. Malnutrition explains not getting the right amount of nutrients for your body. Now begin with the real topic of this podcast, the Acadian Expulsion. This group was settled in Acadie in 1632 and lived happy, joyful, and mostly safe for generations, until in 1710 when Charles Lawrence and a very powerful military police officer and 1,150 soldiers were ordered to invade Acadie, as well as the Acadians. The British forces demanded the Acadians to sign the Oath of Allegiance to Britain and confiscate their land. The oath stated that you will become a British citizen and that you'll be faithful and bear true loyalty to the king or queen. The British additionally announced that the Acadians would have to take up arms for Britain, meaning they would have to take a weapon and fight with the soldiers when any wars encountered the British. Many Acadians rejected the offer for multiple reasons. They feared it would force them to give up the freedom and independence that the people just began to be amused by. The people of Acadie also explained, and I quote, "When our ancestors were previously under English rule, they were never required to swear such an oath." Many people of Acadie thought this agreement was completely unfair, but the Acadians' reply made the entire British force furious. The British wanted their land and were not leaving without it. The soldiers began imprisoning the Acadians by the order of Charles Lawrence and demanded them to depart. Around 11,500 were departed. British forces burned everything the Acadians owned and had created, including crops, farms, houses, and other buildings and supplies. They tore families and friends apart, demanding young children to be away from their owners and close friends to be cut off contact with their peers. Some of the Acadians attempted to fight back, but they were easily defeated. The British felt the Acadians may side with the French in any future military conflicts between Britain and France. Therefore, the Acadians were transferred into ships where thousands died from illness and filthy living conditions of the ship, around 5,000. The photos on the screen are examples of what the ships look like. Some of the Acadians managed to escape from the British and the terrible living conditions. The Acadians were positioned around the Atlantic coast of North America. Some shipped to Europe or France and others to the Caribbean. A couple of the Acadians managed to escape to New France, currently Quebec. In 1764, the Acadians were allowed back into Acadie, now titled as Nova Scotia at the time, in small, isolated groups. The British authorized the Acadians to return if they take an unqualified oath of allegiance. An unqualified oath of allegiance means following British law. This may have forced the Acadians to change their religious beliefs, as well as legal and cultural practices. They began settling once again in numerous locations such as Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. Overall, this event happened roughly throughout 1755 and all the way to 1764. On December 9, 2003, Queen Elizabeth II acknowledged for the first time the wrongs committed during the Acadian Expulsion. There is now a day dedicated to the Acadians that were deported, treated terribly, and even killed. This day is called Day of Commemoration and is arranged on July 28th. The Acadian population to this day is estimated to be around 500,000. The Acadians are now titled as the Cajuns of Louisiana. That is all the information I have today on the Acadian Expulsion. Thank you for listening to this podcast on the Acadian Expulsion. I hope you have learned and even been educated a little more on this early event in our world. Thank you.